My name is Rob Cohen. I am very happy to be here today. I run strategic alliances for Lyzr. Today we are very fortunate to have one of our strategic partners, Persistent Systems, here with us. Today we're going to be talking. So I'm, from Lyzr. Lyzr has an agentic platform that's been getting a lot of really good traction. We'll talk some more about that in a little while. But today we're here to talk about OpenAI and OpenAI Enterprise, and see some of the trends that we're seeing. Go through them, talk about some of the issues, and talk a little bit about how we can help companies who are looking to get some more guardrails, more protection, more support for their agentic AI systems. Right now, I'd like to just welcome Parimal Tavari, who has been hanging in with us here today. He's graciously agreed to participate in this webinar with us, and so I'm looking forward to his perspective on OpenAI Enterprise. So, Parimal, do you mind just giving us a brief introduction?
Well, thanks, Rob, for that background, and hello, everyone. Parimal Tavari. I lead the global consulting and solutions for BFSI for Persistent. And glad to be here, Rob. When you asked me to do this together, like we value the partnership very deeply. Obviously, we are going together to multiple clients and making an impactful change for the way in which they do business. But this is an opportunity for us to also brainstorm on where the trends are going, what we are seeing in the last couple of weeks and months, because this is a phenomenal change right now which we are all going through. And you never know which side you have to pick, because there are so many things happening every day. Like everybody is coming up with new innovations, not only stateside but globally as well. So we have to keep an eye on everything. And Amazon is a great partner of ours as well. And while we'll focus on the OpenAI to Bedrock and a few other use cases, this is an opportunity for us to sort of rethink, and with probably participation from everyone in the chat as to where this whole juggernaut is going.
Yeah, I agree. It is a tremendous period of time, and I feel so grateful to be part of it. I've seen a number of different technology innovations, and lived through everything like the first PC and internet and cloud, and so now I think with AI coming together, and now with Gen AI really kind of making things take off, I'm really happy that I'm being able to still participate and go forward. So let's go. Let me go to our next slide. So I thought it might make sense just to start a little bit by defining OpenAI Enterprise and ChatGPT Enterprise, because they're two different things. And I think that people have an expectation based on their experience with ChatGPT about OpenAI Enterprise. But I thought we just define it quickly. So a good way to think about it is that OpenAI Enterprise is really infrastructure as a service for Gen AI, and ChatGPT Enterprise is really about supercharging ChatGPT for enterprise use. So while OpenAI Enterprise provides guardrails and provides a secure environment for companies to use their model without fear of their data and their code being used to train the model, and the users, their end users, are able to use ChatGPT, which everybody has become very comfortable with. But they've increased things like the capacity. They've increased with OpenAI, with ChatGPT. You get a lot more tokens and a lot more the ability to use it. So I think what we're witnessing is probably a textbook case of first mover advantage. ChatGPT has really set the stage, and when OpenAI came out with their enterprise version, we've seen incredible growth to over 3 million customers. And I think that really is based on the success of ChatGPT and the brand recognition, and really, a classic first mover advantage. So we are seeing a bunch of great adoption. 92% of the Fortune 500 are currently using OpenAI, and we're seeing, in use cases like finance, healthcare, retail, and education. And I think the idea of it being a secure platform and a secure capability is really exciting for customers, and they have this level of comfort. Parimal, are you seeing persistence customers adopting OpenAI in the enterprise?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we've been sort of seeing that trend in the last 3-4 years. Robin, as you rightly said, like this is an early mover advantage. Ever since the transformer architecture came in 2018, 2019, the paper, although somebody else wrote it, some other company wrote it, like they were the first ones who were sort of think about the commercial implications of it. They obviously started the whole GPT revolution, but others are catching up very, very fast, and we are seeing like kind of a model farm things. Hugging Face started it like 3-4 years ago. So some very interesting companies coming up with not only model and then platforms and services, and so it's now a much more sort of say open environment than where we were like a couple of years ago, wherein there was one hyperscaler which had wrapped up the GPT around it, and then they were the ones who were doing most of the enterprise implementations. Now we are seeing a more open dialogue as to what is the right way to go. And one of the trends, and which we probably will touch upon it later on as well, is I'm seeing a lot of single model applications or the single model implementations now getting changed. Everybody is now questioning that, okay, do we want to put all our eggs into one model wherein we can get a much more vibrant performance and maker checker kind of a validation from multi-model kind of a framework. So we will talk about some of those trends as we get it deeper.
Yeah, thanks. We will. I'm looking forward to getting into it a little deeper. So I do think, however, though, when people dug into OpenAI for enterprise and started using it, it sort of seemed to me like OpenAI wasn't really quite ready to put an enterprise product out. They got some pushback on the performance and pushback on the reliability and things that I think enterprises just assume that their vendors are going to be able to provide. And also, I think ChatGPT 5 came out, and I think there was a lot of controversy over that. And the cost, of course, is pretty expensive. So it's almost as if they didn't seem to realize that the multiple model trend was happening. And even though, I mean, you can't argue with 3 million customers, but I do think that this is an indication, the kind of reaction that we had, that what you were talking about is exactly right.
Yeah, and and again, it's like the Ford Motor moment, like 150 years ago, like whenever it happened, like you had assembly line, you had the technology, and then it started splintering into a sort of multi-provider industry. So I think we are seeing it, and there are enough and more sort of correlations, whether AI is the new electricity or is it the new fire or whatever it is, but we will end up with that kind of a model
Yeah,
monetization as we go
I
forward
do
as
think we are. Yeah, we are seeing that kind of, and I think everybody believes that the kind of transformation that we're going to see is monumental and world changing. And I think people are either, if they're glass empty people, they worry about AI taking over, and if they're glass full people, they say, hey, the quality of life for humans is going to improve dramatically over time. It'll be a little painful, like they all are, but that's where they think we're heading. But I do think with coming back to OpenAI, that some of these risks are real, and I think if we correlate them into this theme that we're sort of talking about of choice being important, the pricing, customer support, responsiveness, all these things are sort of, I think, symptomatic of something a little bit bigger. And so the question is, what's the real underlying cause of this discontent? Is it having control over the model? Is it flexibility across models? Is it that customers have kind of figured out what they could do and what they can get, and their expectations are very high about Gen AI. So I'm asking what what is your thoughts?
No, I think look, ultimately it boils down to the right engineering. There is a tremendous, and there yesterday, I mean, we've been citing the MIT report which said that 95% of the experimentations are failing, and so many other data coming from the market. But it boils down to, and Persistent as a company, we are very clear that this is a market change from where we were like 2 years ago, even 1 year ago. And it is all about the right engineering, that engineering mindset that we've built as a core of our company, is going to be applied into this problem as well. There is no easy button wherein you can just tell a prompt to the GPTs and it'll write the code and the applications, and voila, you will get something brilliant. That is the reason why we work with partners like Lyzr, which have a very nice orchestration workflow, but also it reminds you of like across the entire stack, right from your memory, the context, right to your infrastructure layer, like, and your observability layer. You have to think the whole 9 yards of engineering. Wherever we have seen those kinds of principles being applied, we are seeing tremendous results. But wherever people are like trying to think that okay, this is as easy as like just writing a few prompts and giving it to a bunch of engineers, I think that is going to fail all the time.
Hmm. It's interesting. I think we'll do another webinar about lovable and vibe coding and true engineering, because I'd love to get I'm sure you guys are pretty opinionated about that. And in a minute, I think I'm gonna ask you some more about Persistent in particular. But first of all, let's just follow with this trend. I think we talked earlier about um, how broad the expectations are and how now people are starting to understand, and there's a lot of choice that people have. And you guys in particular uh, are working with customers on some really interesting options. And so I'm hoping you could shed some
Yeah.
light on that.
Yeah. So I think again, we are seeing there is a lot of trend around model as a service, wherein below the orchestration layer, everything is going to be like plug and play. And I love the quote from one of our IT directors who said in India, we don't need like such expensive infrastructure to. It's like akin to using a revolver to kill a mosquito. It's like you have plenty of sort of choices for the right problems. You have to unleash whether it's a small language model or even an agentic RAG or a graph RAG or even traditional machine learning. Frankly, I mean, there are so many options as a data scientist that you should first look at before sort of saying that okay, this is the only way. And with MCPs and A2As and so many other um, integration points for application developers, we are at a point wherein frankly I don't care, I mean, which tool, which model is behind my tool. um,
Hmm.
I can use all of them or none of them, dependent on like where we are in that particular journey or what is the problem that I'm unleashing on.
Yeah, I
So
think.
it doesn't fit at all.
And
That's
have you
that.
found that true with your customers? I mean, I think a lot of the LLMs, everybody scraped the whole internet, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost a race to the bottom and looking for differentiation. I think there are clear differences between a lot of the models, and they're designed to do different things, whether it's reasoning or or multimodal or whatever. But beyond that, it's going to be really interesting to see where these LLMs go and how much of these alternative mechanisms, where people have to use the LLM for what it's good at, but protect their IP, protect their data, and so forth. So, um, but before I move on and talk a little bit about, because the things that you're talking about are very synergistic with what we do. No surprise, you're here on our webinar. But I would like you to spend a couple of minutes to talk about Persistent, because I think that I want people to understand your perspective and why it's different than a lot of other systems integrators.
So let me tell you the story of Persistent. Like we started 35 years ago, and we were the sort of engineering partner of choice for firms like Microsoft, Google, Salesforce. So we were the behind the scenes doing a lot of the development for their products and services that they were launching. For example, Amazon Q, we were the ones who have written like 95% of the connectors. Obviously, we remain behind the scene. It's a white label service that we provide, but it's a well-known fact in the industry that we built our company on that data chassis, like understanding data, machine learning, what an enterprise product should look like for a high-tech industry is where we grew. Our founder, Dr. Anand, like was very passionate about the initial, and then Sandeep, our current CEO, is like has been like trying to take some of these solutions that we developed like 35 years in the making and started verticalizing it. So for example, in my industry, BFSI, which is banking, financial services, insurance, we are applying these principles to very interesting problems for our clients, either in banking or investment management or insurance. And we're finding fantastic results, across three vectors. One is engineering AI productivity, which is we have our homegrown platform called Sasva, which you can say that okay, it is competing with the likes of some of the low code, no code platforms, as well as some of the N8Ns and few other things. But the idea behind it is that we have trained our people on building these models and building, training these models, tuning these models in an infrastructure agnostic manner, which is grounds up, so that we
Mhm.
understand what is an open weight, how do you train it, how do you tune it. And we are glad to say we have 69 patents, out of which 15 of them are common to what DeepSeek did at their moment. We didn't we invented them like independent of them, but obviously they launched a different model, and we are not in the model creation game. We are doing it for our enterprise customers. So that's the
Mhm.
first vector. Second is, we call it AI for data and data for AI. So we have a very strong data foundation. Our name itself, like persistent, comes from the persistent database layer. And
Mhm.
what we have is a bunch of products over there, tools over there, iAura, GenAI Hub, wherein we create these kind of experiences for how do you clean data? Because, ultimately, Rob, it'll all boil down to how good your data is. If everybody has the LLMs, how do you differentiate yourself is only how you monetize your internal data. So how do
Mhm.
you interplay your existing historical data, take intelligence out of it, and take the right actions for your clients? That's where we see a huge gap, because most of the clients have very, very low data governance framework, very poor lineage. They don't know like how those data practices, the data doyens and data owners, that layer is completely like, and we are applying AI to bring all that together. So that's a very, we could probably have worth another webinar. And then the
I
last layer
think
is
so.
where we partner with players like you, which is Agentic, wherein we are creating workflows for our clients, like simplifying their current processes. Their banks have like thousands of operation people doing mundane jobs, repeatable jobs, and we are unleashing the power of AI to how to automate it and give the productivity back to the banks or the financial institutions. We are seeing tremendous results.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can
I
talk
think.
more. This is your forum. You want to like
Hey, wait a minute! You're hijacking my our whole thing here. No, I wanted people to understand this because I think that the role that you guys have played in the industry is really unsung, and but super important. And I think it really qualifies you guys to be able, as experts in understanding what's going on. You guys have seen many. I think it's 35 years old, the organization, and so you guys have seen the same transitions that I've seen. So I
yeah.
think it's really important. And I also believe that the things that you're talking about are really the kinds of things that we have been focusing on. So our platform, just going to spend a few minutes going through our platform, and then I would like to show, bring on one of our engineers to show a demo of an agent that we've created that would help customers move OpenAI agents, or really any LLM agent, over to Lyzr to get the benefits of what we're talking about. So our platform is a private full stack agent infrastructure platform. So we focus on enterprises. We've got built-in responsible AI guardrails, product ready. We'll talk about being production ready. We'll talk about our approach because customers want to have a platform. We'll talk about that, but they also want some help. And so we have this concept of blueprints and we've got a bunch of different mechanisms to support both IT as well as line of business. So what we're finding is that customers' lines of business own the business processes. And so there's always been a gap between business and IT, where IT is clearly focusing on infrastructure and even some development, but there's always that inability to capture the workflow semantics of the lines of business. And I think agents now are empowering, especially platforms like ours that support both the developers and end users, the ability to articulate their needs and articulate their workflows in a sort of common language with IT. So that's one of the most exciting things for me. So just to give you an idea, we've got organizations like NVIDIA and Accenture and Hitachi and FirstSource who are using our platform for really interesting but important functions. So NVIDIA, for example, is using us to automate a lot of their sales process. And it's a channel business, so they've got a pretty complex sales system. And we're helping them create an agentic system for that. Accenture has a venture capital business where they help companies with mergers and acquisitions. And so Accenture is working with us to automate and agentify that process. So it is a really big system that captures all of the research and information that they do in many, many industries about acquisition targets, and make that available for companies who are looking to get to either position themselves to be acquired or acquire other companies. So they've got a whole big practice, and this is just going to completely disrupt that space for them. Hitachi has 7 different industries. Hitachi Digital, this is, and they have 7 different industries, and they are revamping their whole global marketing program. Now, if you think about it, if you're trying to release a product across 7, or if you in any of those 7 industries, but it's going global, and you think of the nuances that you need in order to market it effectively, whether it's country to country or geo to geo or regulations, dealing with regulations, all of these things make marketing super complicated. And we're working with them on revamping that completely. And then FirstSource, who is another SI partner focused mostly in the mortgage industry, is building a whole agent marketplace for their customers to use different agents depending upon their current requirements. So those are a few. This is another, just a list of logos that we work with. And you'll see they go across industries, some really good logos out here. We've been involved in a number of startup contests, and we've won quite a few, which is really gratifying and also a great statement to us. But most recently, one of the top 3, one of the world's largest bank, it has to go nameless, chose us as one of the top 3 agent platforms that they'll work with in their organization. What we're finding from these companies is that they were looking for a platform. They're not looking for a point solution. So there are a lot of agentic systems out there that are just for one use case or one industry, and they can do a really good job, no doubt about it. But enterprises have always had troubles with having too many vendors, integrating all this stuff together, and so they're already resistant to those point solutions and are looking for a platform. And that explains why we've been seeing some tremendous traction. We just really announced our studio. The company's been around and the platform is about 2 years old, but introducing it as our platform out to customers really just happened in January. And so we've already got 15,000 developers. We're on a tremendous growth trajectory. We're about to close our Series A, and things are moving really well. And you think about the quality of those logos that I shared with you, knowing where we are in our journey, and it gives you an idea of how important and how valuable customers are seeing this platform. So let me start a little bit about responsible design, responsible AI design, because this is really what put us in the market. If you look at this slide along the left, you've got inputs, and the inputs could be from like a chat interface, or it could be from another agent for agent-to-agent communication. And we're very careful to make sure that we are using our features to support a good and non-toxic experience for the customer. So as an example, one of our features is PII redaction. So if we're in a use case where people are sharing their information and we're going to do an agentic process, and that might include an LLM, we redact the data because we don't ever want to have that data go out to an LLM for whatever reason. So we also do what's called prompt injection. We look for toxicity in the prompt injection. We look for toxicity in the wording, bias, and just make sure that we're complying, or that customers can comply with their internal policies. So this is all policy driven. And then the agent action itself, we're working with tools or RAG models or LLMs. And so we want to make sure that that communication and the feedback that we get from our agentic work is also safe and reliability or safe. So we have a hallucination reducing suite of features that minimize and really bring that down to close to 90% confidence, 90+% confidence of hallucinations. We use things like reflection and check for groundedness. And then on the output side, we also again make sure that whatever we are sending on, whether it's back to a client or back to another agent, is also safe and reliable. So this underlying architecture has really been designed for enterprises, and we're trying to keep enterprises in mind. But it's not just about the architecture. We also want to make sure, as I mentioned, that we are supporting both end users as well as IT folks. And so we have our studio, which is a no-code, low-code platform where people can choose the model. We have a number of different models. You can bring your own model, you hook up tools, and you just create these agents through prompts. And we support, you'll see somewhere in the middle of this is our features, our safety and reliability features, as well as things like orchestration and our blueprints, which I'll get to that. But we also have a developer mode. And so the developer mode allows all of those agents, which, by the way, I should have mentioned that everything in our platform is API driven. So if you create an agent, that agent has an API that you can use to call it from an existing system, or build a system that has some agent componentry, or having a multi-agent system for communications. And then we also recognize how important traceability is and observability. And so we log everything, and then we are, constantly improving the interface that we have and the availability of different views and perspectives so that people can iterate and debug and create the level of confidence that companies need to put something into production, because that's really what it's about. It's about getting into production. And so this whole platform is really focused on getting and building production-ready AI agents. And to do that, we have to look at things like governance and observability, compliance. So we're compliant with HIPAA and GDPR and SOC 2 as an example, and then different kinds of infrastructures or different kinds of implementation models. And this is where we're going to bring in Bedrock a little bit, because we find that at the agent level, You talked a lot, Parimal, about data, and data is so key. And one of the value propositions that AWS brings is their structure and their control and security around the data layer and the different options that they have for managing data. And so that has become a super important thing. I think if you look at us, we are surrounded by two areas that we don't control. Right? We don't control the corporate infrastructure. We don't control the data, and then we also don't control the business processes. But what we're trying to do is bring those together. And so it's really important that we have partners like you that can help us with the data layer and also help us set appropriate expectations with customers on the application side.
So that's what
So,
attracted us in the first place, Rob. When I see the stack, like right from telemetry to your orchestration layer to the even the vector databases I mean, the amount of flexibility that you can get, whether you do a traditional vector search or a graph search or any other models of like finding what is it that you're looking for. Ultimately, like our Lyzr is very effective in attaching all those experiences together. And for us, it's like model agnostic, correct? Like we can call a meta, see what the accuracy score is. We can call, say, a particular locally tuned model for our own devices. So that way,
that's right.
like interplay so many different modes, and Lyzr is able to like integrate all of it. Obviously, and then the other thing which I love about the platform is that you're not locked in. So if I want to go LangChain, LangGraph native, I can just do that code on top of whatever you have developed. So a lot of the vibe coding problems that we have in terms of like finding the needle in the haystack kind of experiences initial days,
Yeah,
it is getting sort of very thinly resolved. And then obviously
yeah.
I have my own developer console, so I can always jump into it.
It's interesting that you bring that up because one of the things that we believe is that we're not looking to be the only agent system out there. We don't think that's realistic. Things are just going to grow so quickly, and so having that, being open and being able to provide value is and having this platform, there's another key thing about it that's really important, which is that when you have, first of all, if you have an investment in LangChain or other kinds of agents, Bedrock agents, for example, those can all be connected in a broader orchestration model, either through Bedrock orchestration or through our orchestration or whoever. Um, but the other thing that's important about a platform is that companies are intuitively moving towards a concept that we have called organizational general intelligence. And this would be able to break down silos. So if you are a guy in sales and you're waiting for a product update and you can't get communications with the developers or whatever, with OGI, if those are agentified systems, then they can talk to each other and you can query, okay, what does my inventory look like? Where's my product enhancement that I asked about? And that could all be delivered to customers, even though it has to cross many organizational boundaries to pull that data together. And that kind of holy grail moment is close. It's really close. So when I talked about that Hitachi situation, for example, they're going to be able to query globally where they are in marketing in their marketing programs. It's going to be, and it's amazing. And that's, I think, one of the key things that is really important about what we're talking about. It's really empowering this this overall ability to react and to understand where they are. Because I think everybody knows that speed, if there's anything we can be sure of, it's that things are changing a lot. And so companies' ability to understand that, incorporate these trends, and drive change is going to be the difference between companies that are doing okay and companies that do great.
Absolutely. And I was just reading like Thinking Machine Labs recently, Meeramurthy's company. They are going back to a lot of the questions that people are asking about the determinism in the language models, correct? The same
Mhm.
prompt can give two different answers because of the way in which the current architecture, the kernels, the way in which your data storage at the LLM level is done and search is done. So they are questioning those fundamental kernels. They are questioning, okay, how do you store data? What is the matrix multiplication and multiplier rules, um, uh, floating point errors, and those kinds of things. And they might come up with an architecture which is much more deterministic, so that if you
Mm.
give this prompt every time, you will get the same results, which is a fantastic way to rethink the architecture. So I think, yeah, that these are the kind of questions that we have to grapple with. And
Yeah, so
again,
that's a really interesting one, because I would push back on that a little bit. I think it's more about what you said earlier, which is using the right tool for the right problem.
I agree.
So if you're trying to use Gen AI to solve a problem that requires a deterministic result, then it's not the right tool. But if you're looking for something that's going to be able to be humanized and interact in a more comfortable manner with humans, that still, it may not be deterministic, but it's still going to be accurate, and it's still going to be factual. And I think those are very different kinds of use cases. So I can't wait for this stuff to start evolving the way you're talking about, and I look forward to it, because I believe
Yes,
we're onto something.
and
So
companies like Fabrics are also doing something phenomenally. I mean, I know Lyzr has a deep integration with the data layer, so you can pretty much invoke a Snowflake or a Databricks service, which is also a very interesting use case for us, because we're talking a lot of these sort of interplays of APIs.
yeah, I'm glad. So the platform has, if you think about, there's a number of building blocks that the platform can support. So we find that a lot of the important agentic systems are using these things. They're using reasoning agents that have the enterprise integrations like you talked about, the responsible guardrails, multi-agent orchestration, and then knowledge graphs. So this is, I think, a nice, concise way to think about the kinds of capabilities that you can use to build your agentic systems with our platform. Some people want to build it, and some people want to know they could build it, but would like some help. And so we have some vast experience building a number of different use cases. And so we have codified those into a blueprint that sort of defines what is this use case about. And here's just a sample of some of the blueprints that we've done. And what's available now is that not only does the blueprint describe what the agent system is going to be, like a traditional concept of a blueprint, but think about a blueprint that once you get it and you put it in place, it makes the house for you. It builds the house. So the agents are built behind it. So these blueprints are fully formed systems. And when you find them through our product, you can clone them into your own Lyzr account, and then just make sure the data that you need is there, and sort of do the connections, hook it up, and you're 70% there. I mean, agents are fast to build in the first place, but it does take a lot of iterations. And so we simplify that process with our blueprints, which is pretty exciting. So I'm leading up to a demo that we're going to do. We are going to demo how to take an OpenAI agent prompt and convert it over to a Amazon Bedrock Nova prompt. And we're getting back to what you mentioned before. It's like you don't need a revolver to kill a mosquito. So there are some metrics that people are looking for. They want to have a certain level of quality, they want to have a certain level of performance, and they want to have a certain level of cost. And those are trade-offs. And so picking the right models that can support those trade-offs is important. And one of the things we're going to be showing is that combining Lyzr, our platform, with AWS, with Bedrock and Agent Core, that we can provide a very secure, very reliable, very performant platform for your agentic systems. And today, if you look at what we do together, Bedrock provides an awful lot of the thing. Again, this is another one of those things. At our level, we can control what we do, but then at the infrastructure level, Bedrock provides infrastructure for LLMs in Bedrock and infrastructure for agents now with their newly announced Agent Core. We provide all the value propositions of our studio, and we're starting to see the payoff because this is having that security of both platforms enables customers to make the decision to go into production. And so we're seeing some really great numbers around that, around getting to production. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the migration pathway and how we do this. So the first thing that we do is evaluate the OpenAI workloads and figure out how do we functionally replicate that in a Bedrock model. We do a bunch of regression testing and deploy production agents as a result. So what I'd like to do now, unless you have a question, is call up one of our engineers and have him go through a demo for us. So I'd like to introduce Vidur. So Vidur is you can introduce yourself, but yeah, he's been working hard on this, and I'm excited to see how this works. I mean, I know how it works. I'm excited to see the demo.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Parimal. So, hi everyone. I think Rob and Parimal have been talking about how Amazon Bedrock and what all leverage AI agents can get using Amazon Bedrock, be it data security, be it lesser cost or much improved latency. So, being a builder, I genuinely found all these leverages super useful. So I actually wanted to build a product which will convert my existing agents to something that I can host on Amazon Bedrock. So this is how the product looks. And before we actually start demoing it, let's quickly understand how the product is built. So this is essentially a configuration of 5 agents, 5 multi-orchestration agents that we have built on Lyzr Studio. And the whole idea behind building this product was that if we can build a workflow where using my existing agents, we can use Lyzr's agent eval, which will generate test cases for that agents, and we somehow make sure that all those test cases are also successfully passing when we use a migrated prompt built over Amazon Bedrock. So that can be the definition of a successful migration, because if we are passing all the test cases which are production level, and we are saving a lot of cost, we are making sure our data is secure and saving a lot of improving a lot of latency as well. So let's just dive into that. For example, any customer, any developer comes in with an agent prompt that they have built on a GPT, on a Claude, or on a Gemini, or any of these foundational models, as we say. The first agent of this orchestration will basically generate comprehensive test cases right here. So let's assume it generates 20 test cases, and parallelly there is another agent which is generating a migrated prompt, which is an optimized prompt for Amazon Nova. Or even if we can migrate to open source GPT models which are hosted on Amazon Bedrock, so the agent 2 takes care of building a first version of this optimized prompt, right? So as we understand the flow, let's also try a demo of this product, right? So we have a customer's testimonial agent, and this is something that we have built using GPT 4.1. So this is hosted on OpenAI, and it's using GPT 4.1. So what I'll do is that I'll just have this agent instructions, which is the main system prompt, and I want this agent to be converted to Amazon Bedrock so that my agent becomes fast. I can save a lot of costs, and of course, I don't want to share all this data with OpenAI as usual, right? So I'll just paste this system prompt that I just copied, and I'll choose whatever model I want to migrate to. Let's go with Amazon Nova Pro, which is very similar to GPT-4o in terms of performance. And I can just call it my customer testimonial agent. We can have a brief description that it tells about Lyzr's performance with customers. And my current AI provider is GPT 4.1, as we saw. And I'll simply start migration. So the moment we start the migration using this product, the first two agents are in process where test cases are being generated and a first version of migrated prompt is generated. Once we have these 20 test cases generated, we have a third agent in place, which is basically the Nova executor. So the prompt we just migrated as part of the agent 2, which was created using the documentation that Amazon Bedrock has, the documentation of Amazon Nova and GPT OSS. We have an optimized prompt, and now the agent 3 is executing these 20 test cases that we just generated using the optimized prompt on Amazon Nova. And here is when we look at the whole feedback mechanism. So now our agent is running 20 test cases simultaneously. It is trying to execute all the 20 input test cases, and it is generating obviously 20 outputs. And now we have a quality evaluator in place that, okay, we executed our test cases using the migrated prompt, but did we actually get the value? Did we actually pass all the test cases? Were they production level? Were the outputs as expected or not? And in most of the cases, we get a good quality in the first migration itself. But even if we fail a few test cases, there is a whole feedback mechanism going and improving the migrated prompt that we just created. So the agent 4 will evaluate some performance gaps. It will evaluate if our quality benchmark is met or not. Have we qualified 90% test cases or maybe 100% test cases? Yes or no? If it says yes, we have our production ready Nova agent. And if it's no, we just improve the prompt using the feedback that we got from agent 4. And in the UI, it looks pretty simple. So we are currently in the third stage where we generated the test cases, we got a migrated agent, and now we are executing all these 20 test cases one by one. And we can also have a look on what these test cases are. What is the input test case? What is the expected output test case when this agent was originally being run on GPT 4.1? And how is Nova performing on that test case? So once these 20 test cases are executed, we get some feedback and we continuously improve the migrated prompt until we pass all the test cases. So the final output looks something like this, where the ultimate agent we have uh, got is built on Amazon Nova, as we chose as the migration as the model for migration. And we can see that all the 20 test cases were successfully passed, and we can also see what all uh, output is Nova generating, what all output was expected out of it, and what is the quality on passing all these test cases. So we have successfully migrated the agent, and the good part is that I have this agent directly built on Lyzr Studio. So as we can see, this is the agent the product has created, and it has already selected Nova Pro as the model. And I can start using this agent through the chat endpoint that I get here. So an original agent which I was building on GPT 4.1 and I was using it, within 5 minutes, I have a migrated agent and I can just plug in the agent inference endpoint and sort of replace it. And I don't want to emphasize a lot on why do we replace it, but I actually went on to do some quality benchmark around this, and this is what I actually found. So I manually tested around 20 input test cases with both the prompts, and I had a very clear and very close output quality in both the cases, while the credit consumption was significantly lower with Amazon Nova, and the latency was approx 2.5 times faster with Amazon Nova. So this was a huge validation for me, and absolutely we try migrating a lot of other agents as well and continuously improve the product. So I think that pretty much concludes
That
what I.
was that was fast. Awesome. Well done. So, any questions before we close up?
So I think someone has commented whether Lyzr AI provides built-in orchestrations, or do we need to develop one for multi-agent workflows? Okay, so of course you can create agents from scratch. You can orchestrate agents by yourself. You have the workflow builder in the studio. The good part, which I personally like, is the manager orchestration, where you can just toggle on the manager agent, and now your agent is smart enough to delegate tasks to other sub agents, and it's all conversational in natural language. You don't have to connect any nodes and stuff. But on top of that, we have also released few blueprints which are pre-built orchestrations of some production level agents, and you can clone them, you can attach your own knowledge bases. So I would say you have a 90% built agent orchestration, and you can work on top of that. So yeah.
All right, great. So Vidur, that's great work. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I think, you know, we've basically talked a lot about the choice, how choice is important, some of the trends that we're seeing, and that with Amazon Bedrock and Lyzr is a good example of a hybrid infrastructure that provides options. It provides choice for models. You have the ability with our platform to pick and use and change models, and then do some testing. We now have this migration platform, this migration agent, which I think is exciting as that moves into production. And I want to thank everybody for participating, particularly Parimal for joining us. If you want to book a demo to see more about this and other things that we do, you know, here's a QR code, and feel free to reach out to Parimal or myself via LinkedIn to answer any further questions. So with that, we did get a little bit over, but we started late. We had some issues. So thanks to everybody who hung on with us, and Parimal for joining, and Vidur for your great work.
Thank you, Rob and Vidur, and behind the scene like Ankita and others. Look forward to continued conversation and winning together in the market, Rob.
Excellent. Let's do it. Bye now.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Build safe and responsible agents. Introducing Lyzr.